Hello everyone, this is Kylan Hunt, and what I'd like to do today is analyze rain events on some very light sandy soil. We put this sensor in the ground on March 22nd. We had a small rain event and we set our full point at 4.6 inches. Now being it was March, it was not using a lot of water because it was cool and the plants were just slowly drawing water for about 30 days. As we get into this April time frame, we've had several small rain events, and the rain has been coming fairly consistently. So even though we were starting to use a lot more water here in May, there was a good chance of rain, so we decided to not irrigate. And boy, was that a good thing. See this rain event here? Several rain events that took us way over the full point. We were able to dry down a little bit for a few days, and then it's just taken off raining again. So what we want to analyze is this full point and ask the question, do we need to reset this full point? So let's go down now and look at our individual sensor graphs. But before we do, I want to pull this in so that we can look at these rain events in more detail. All right, there we go. So let's go look at these individual sensor graphs now and measure these rain events and see what happened at the individual sensor level. What I'm looking at here, and I have my mouse on the very top sensor, that's our 2-inch sensor. And if you'll notice, straight below that we have all these little dots, right? We've got all these little points on the map where, or on the graphs, where the moisture content is at each of those sensor levels. And what I'd like you to notice is how the sensors angle off as the soil moisture slowly penetrates through the ground. See, even in the sand, it takes time for that moisture to penetrate down to those bottom sensors. And you can see that here. The rain events actually started on May 7th, but it was actually May 9th, 2 days later, before that moisture made it all the way to the bottom sensor. So it was about 2 days worth of rain and 2 days worth of slow soaking moisture to get that bottom sensor to actually move. Now, the question we have to ask, did we get too much water in that profile? Should we reset our budget line? That's what we're looking for. Since we know these rain events were fairly substantial, and we know that they increased the moisture content all the way down to this 34-inch level, I'm going to say at this point, probably not going to reset the budget line. However, I'm not sure we have enough information yet. As you can see, we do have some slow drawdown over several days in those lower sensors. Now, I do know this is alfalfa, and you can see some slight stair stepping at different places along the line here. So I'm going to say that could be some water draw, but probably more slow leaching than anything. Now, let's look at the next rain event. Here was a rain event that took place on May 18th. What's interesting though, as it was drawing out moisture from our top few sensors, our 2-inch, our 6-inch, and 10-inch sensors, obviously it's drawing down moisture. These little rain events here, they increase the moisture content at 6 inches, but not at 10. This small rain event here increased at 6 and did a slow increase at 10. So we were recharging with these rain events that had no leaching effect. That's a positive. So these two rain events were very positive. This rain event, however, that took place on the 20th, it had a different effect. Substantially heavier rain, even though the top sensor didn't show a lot, it began that slow infiltration all the way to the bottom again, see? So we know that this infiltrated all the way through the profile, all the way down to that 34-inch sensor. However, that's May 20th. This is May 21st. It was over a day, a full 24 hours before that moisture began to get down into that 34-inch level. So that's the case. That's a slow infiltration. We know that some of these soil profiles held that water, but most of them began to leach it out. As soon as that moisture content increased, it immediately dropped off again. We had another rain event here on May 23rd, and look at that. Increased the moisture content at the top, immediately dropped off again, which means it cannot hold anymore. Increased and immediately dropped off, immediately dropped off. This profile is completely saturated. And at this point in time, we cannot hold any more water anywhere in that soil profile. So when I come back to this point, yeah, look at that, way over full. That is what we would expect to see, right? It is really wet. So when I come back down to this data and I ask the question, should I change the refill point? At this point in time, I'm going to say probably not. At this time, I'm going to leave that refill point the way it is, because knowing that this took 2 days or a full day here and almost 2 days here to get that moisture content all the way to the bottom, at this point in time, I'm going to say hold off on changing the full point, because there was a lot of leaching taking place here. And while I could possibly increase that full point to about 4.8, which might be okay, I'm not 100% convinced of that until we start to see this plant pull that water out of the profile and get back to our existing full point. I really would like to see the analysis of the plant draw. At that point in time, I then would make the decision if we needed to change the full point. So I hope that makes sense. I hope this gives you some more things to think about as you're managing water in a sandy soil with your sensors.